Hello and welcome to Establishing a Mentor program. I am Distinguished Toastmaster Lynne Brasher and I will be your narrator for today. I'm going to be joined by Julia Sayer, Distinguished Toastmaster, and a supporting cast of Melrose Toastmasters including Sally Diebold and Tate Moline. Thanks to all of you for helping our club presentation today. I'd like to also thank all the officers in our audience today. You are making the time to make sure you are the best officer your club could possibly have, and that is a wonderful thing. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I have a couple of suggestions that make Zoom trainings a little more enticing. I recommend using the speaker view. The gallery view can be quite distracting. What wonderful background someone has, or a silly hat they might have selected from the virtual options. Additionally, if you choose not to use that and you want to stay on gallery, do consider hiding your self view. It can be very distracting if your hair's not quite right. So let's go ahead and get on with our program. Our objectives today are to motivate you to make a commitment to establishing a mentor program in your club and to provide a basic construct for success of that program. Now, I need to warn you to be prepared to participate. There are lots of opportunities for me to hear from you today, and we're going to take lots of moments to hear your insights on how we can make everything covered in today's program more enticing. In fact, we're going to stop the show right now, and we're going to take some answers on why are you here? Why is this the session you have chosen? Thank you all for sharing your thoughts. Now let's take a look at our agenda. We're going to talk about designing the program. What kind of goals and format are we going to be using for our mentor program? We're going to look at what's going to attract and connect the participants, a critical element to our success. We're going to talk about the tools we can provide to make this program successful. And we're going to talk about the critical element of remembering to always measure your success. This is something that Toastmasters has made very important. Just look at every speech. We get an evaluation. Great mentoring programs don't just happen. You have to spend some time designing them, making them your own, making them fit the audience they're going to be supporting in your club. Like flowers in a garden, a great mentor program must be cultivated. Design of the program. One of the most exciting things in the new Pathways program when it first came out, for me personally, was that there was an actual module on improving your mentoring skills. Now, this is not a module you do for your club. In fact, it doesn't count toward the Distinguished Club program because you do this module for yourself. This is designed to help you build your skills and reinforce what you need to have a very positive mentoring experience. I recommend it for everyone. When we're designing the program, we want to be very, very specific. And we want to address our who. Who is the audience we are designing this program for? For example, we may say we are going to design this program only for members who joined July 21st, 2021 forward. And then we're going to be very specific on what we are asking them to do. Members are being asked to mentor a new member for X period of time, utilizing Y tools. Which tools are we going to give to them? When is this going to happen? Every mentor project should have a defined scope. Make it simple. Define short-term, project-specific, or is this a long-term new member support? And let's talk about why we're doing this. Why is the club deciding that now is the time to do a mentor program? And that requires full buy-in. This isn't something that you can decide we're going to do a mentor program and you can push forward all on your own. You have to have a merry band of Toastmasters assisting you to make something like this work. Let's look at a sample mission statement. We are starting this program to improve new member assimilation and retention. Mentors are being asked to commit 3 months to using the Toastmasters International Pathways Mentor Program, Manual, and the Club Checklist to onboard new members into our organization. So let's take a moment now and explore those 3 W's. I hope everyone agrees that spending a little time understanding why, what, and when we are doing something will make it much easier to continue offering whatever it is we're trying to do. In this case, a mentor program. If we are going to have a mentor program, we need to have participants. How are we going to get them here? How are we going to make sure we make the right matches? So let's take just a brief look at why it's important to mentor. Continued growth. We all learn in moments where we teach. It's one of the best ways to really ingrain knowledge on a topic is to go and teach it to someone. You might remember the first time you baked a cake. The second time, maybe it went a little better. Maybe the next time when you helped someone else bake a cake, you had some tricks and tips to share. And that made you a better baker when you were focused on those tips and tricks. It's going to also give you some personal satisfaction. For my very first DTM, they asked me, hey, what is your favorite moment of your Toastmasters journey so far? And I recounted someone else earning their first educational award. Because our club had faded. It had been impacted by a corporate layoff. We had brought it back to life. And finally, one person who wasn't there before was making their first real achievement. And to me, personally, I felt like we had made it possible for that to happen. And that personal satisfaction was my greatest joy as a Toastmaster. Still is one of my favorite memories. Mentoring is also going to allow you to build connections, and especially in this virtual world we are living in, where so much of what we do is done over Zoom, over the telephone, even in text message or social media. Building important and new connections is difficult, and this gives you an opportunity to make a new one that's going to touch your life, and it's going to touch your life forever. You are going to have interaction with someone that wouldn't have happened without this program. The next three kind of go together. Anytime you go to teach something, to model something, you're going to get re-excited about what you're sharing. You're going to make a new commitment to what needs to be done to be successful, and it's going to give you a refresher of the tools that maybe are a little bit ways in the past. And finally, it's going to give you a legacy. Every time you make a difference in someone's life, that carries forward in their DNA forever. You are going to make a difference that will be there forever. And that's a heck of a way to inspire someone to mentor. So I have a mentor. Now this one shouldn't be hard. You always wonder about the person who says, I don't want a mentor. Are you also the person who tries to put together an IKEA headboard with no instructions? Because that's the biggest piece, is direction. There is a great deal of scope to Toastmasters International. There's a lot out there. If you just wandered in and started working, are you sure you're taking the most efficient and effective travel path? By having someone to mentor you, you're going to get direction on how best and most efficiently and most effectively to move forward. You're also going to have someone have your back. There is a lot to be said to someone having your back. If I want to cliff dive for the first time, and I know that Tate and Julia and Sally are down below with a net and will catch me as I jump, I'm going to be a lot more confident making that jump than if I just stood at the edge all alone. Having a mentor gives someone who's going to give you deeper understanding of feedback. Everybody's going to give you an evaluation form when you speak, but your mentor is going to give you specific feedback that you can incorporate. And they're going to give you feedback not just on what you do as a speaker, but how you did as a timer, how you did as the Toastmaster, areas that will allow you to continue to grow within our organization. And that's a big one because it increases the commitment. If the person has an increased commitment to the organization, they have a connection they've built with someone who cares about them, they're inspired by someone helping them and having their back, they're more likely to stay and be around for a while. And they're also going to have an increased confidence that what they're doing is setting themselves up for success, and that the direction they have been given, the feedback that is coming in support, is making their journey the best journey it could possibly be. So let's take a moment now and let's talk about what are some of the concerns you think you're going to need to overcome in order to launch a successful mentoring program in your club. Some of the reservations your members might have about mentoring, some of the things you think you might encounter from new members who are being offered a mentor. Thanks everybody for sharing your thoughts on resistance. One of the things that to me stands out as a very definite reason someone would be uncomfortable as either a mentor or a protege is that the relationship is not a great match. So one of the things Melrose does to ensure that we try to provide the best possible match is we include a new member survey as a link in our welcome email we send to all our new members from our club website. And we're going to ask them some very simple questions that help us understand who they are. Now, if this is a brand new program and you don't know your mentors as well, it's always good to go on the other side and get their response to these questions as well. What makes them tick as a Toastmaster? For our new members, why did you just join? Are they here to improve their public speaking? Do they have to give a toast at their brother's wedding? Are they suddenly leading meetings at work? Are they there to talk about leadership? Many people are joining our organization because we do enhance the tools you have for success as a leader, and they're in new roles at their job or in another private sector organization where they need to improve in how they lead people. And some people join us just to improve their interpersonal skills. They're not comfortable talking to people. They want to make some friends. The next question we ask is, what kind of mentor do you prefer? And again, this is a question that our mentors, we would need to know, what kind of mentor are you? But for our new members, what kind of mentor do you prefer? Do you like someone who's easygoing, serious about progress, or the cheerleader in the back of the room motivating you to feel like you can successfully accomplish anything? We ask them to rank the communications mediums in order of preference. I'll tell you a story about me. I am one of those people who believes that if I've sent you an email, you have 2 business days and you should respond to it. So if a person says that, hey, I just don't like email, that's probably not the right person to pair with me. Another person may prefer to have all of their interactions via text message or even social media. And for someone who's never been on social media, that might not be the right mentor for them. And finally, we ask them, in 1 year, what do you hope to accomplish in Toastmasters? Now, we're going to then give them a list of achievable options. We're not going to offer President of Toastmasters International or World Champion of Public Speaking. More like being able to give a speech while looking at you and not my feet, or giving my first 5 speeches, taking my first leadership role, or just having made a few friends. All of these can be particular and aligned to what your club feels are important and achievable goals. Then we're going to provide the tools to the mentors to make all of this possible. The first thing we're going to recommend is the Toastmasters Pathways Mentor Program. For every single member, there is an introduction to mentoring as part of Level 2. When they complete Level 2, everyone should be encouraged to sign up for the Toastmasters Mentor Program. It prepares participants to mentor. It offers short and long-term project training. We're going to provide also a checklist that is a guide for specific tasks to do while mentoring and ensures a consistent onboarding process. It is going to be club specific and it's going to cover what our club thinks is important. And the guide is going to be something you complete in 6 to 8 sessions. We also encourage monthly check-ins. Progress toward goals is something you're looking for. How's the relationship going? But make sure when you do set up new pairs, you provide some type of follow-up to make sure everyone's okay with how it's going. Now, some of you may have looked at this and said, hey, Toastmasters has a Pathways Mentor Program? And there's a reason for that. The Pathways Mentor Program, as I said, does not account for anything within the Distinguished Club program. It is a personal accomplishment. And many of us don't realize it's there. So if you've completed your second speech, go log in to Toastmasters. When you get there, click on your name at the top of the page, which will take you directly to your profile. And from there, you can click on Go to Basecamp. On the bottom left-hand side, if you have completed any level 2, is going to be a suggested learning of the Pathways Mentor Program. Encourage your members to sign up. This is a tool that's available to them that, in my opinion, is underutilized because it's new. When you do get there, you're going to learn 3 different projects exist. The first is preparing you for mentoring. And it's really to do a self-assessment. Where are you? What are your interests? What are your goals? What do you need to improve to be able to work with a protege? Then there's going to be a second project, which is specific to a goal. It's going to assign someone to you for you to plan, execute, understand, and evaluate a single goal they have. Maybe they want to have a international speech that they're doing. So you're going to specifically help them with that speech. Maybe they're taking on the vice president of membership role, and you want to specifically give them insight on how to begin their term. And finally, there's going to be the advanced mentoring project. And this is the one probably many of you think of when you think of mentoring. It's the project that's going to allow you to apply the skills you've learned in the previous 2 to a 6-month commitment where there is a detailed interaction expectation in the program. Now, I mentioned earlier about using the Toastmasters Mentor Program and using the checklist to provide a consistent onboarding experience to our new members. We're going to take a moment now and talk about why do we think consistency is important in onboarding our new members. Thanks to everybody who shared. Let me tell you a little bit of what I think is the importance of consistency. I recently learned that you can look at discipline a different way in a club member's speech. You can look at it as devotion, discipline or devotion to accomplishing a specific goal. Consistency builds a level of trust in the process. If I know what to expect, I know what's going to happen, I'm going to be more trusting that this is going to take me to my goal. A consistent process will fast track our members for success. If we're all doing the same activities with our members as they join, they're all being set up for the same ability to be successful within our program. It creates a level of accountability. If there is a new member who perhaps didn't get something they should have learned in our mentor checklist, it's an opportunity to go back to that mentor and reinforce the checklist availability and why some of those things that we've added to our checklist are important that every member know. And of course, the reminder that small actions become building blocks for success. So as we consistently do those small actions, they become more and more a part of our club's DNA. Let's talk a little bit about our specific Melrose mentoring checklist, and we do it in 6 meetings. Now, conveniently, you remember that the Toastmasters Mentor Program has a 6-month commitment. Very nice timeline here. So what do we do at these meetings with our mentors and proteges? At the first meeting, we want to really understand who we are. Not who is just the person who's come to the club, but who are you who's agreed to help them and why? What's your resume like? Why are you here? What motivated you to take the time to be a mentor? What motivated you to take the time to be a Toastmaster? And for the new member, what's motivating them? And then let's talk about goals, because as a mentor, you have goals for your protege. And as a protege, you have goals and expectations for your time in Toastmasters. So that first meeting is really a get to know you kind of meeting. When we move to meeting number 2, we're not talking about who anymore. We're talking about what. What are we doing here? There are lots of things that members are doing within our organization. You might have chairs of different committees. You might have different roles that maybe all other clubs don't have. For example, we give a toast at every one of our meetings. Some people say the pledge. These are things that are part of the club's DNA that should be explained to help the new member have a better understanding of what it is they're doing. And each one of those roles, they're going to eventually be expected to fulfill. So having a place where that documentation of what those roles are, that you can share with them, and then sharing exactly what they are each doing, is going to set the member up to success to understand why they're sitting through our meeting and why someone's giving an evaluation of a speech. Didn't we all just write that down? Very important to have an understanding of what you're doing to feel comfortable doing it. And just a quick note that 2, 3, and 4 can be done pretty much in any order, whatever works best for you and the person you're working with. Because in number 3, now we're going to review the education program. Our education program is rather extensive. It isn't just your first path that you're working. It isn't just the first level of that path that you're working. You're going to work through 5 levels, and here's what each of them are intended to do. When you get done with that, you're going to start another one. And when you get to the end, here are the things you're going to additionally do to earn a distinguished Toastmaster. I had been a Toastmaster for 3 years before I met my first distinguished Toastmaster. Didn't know they existed, and I never left my club. So I had never set a goal of what my expectations of myself were as a Toastmaster. Sit down now, review that program, because there may be some of us, like me, who are a little competitive, who are a little goal-driven, and who want to say, hey, I want to set my long-term goals, my medium-term goals around what I know is possible. And until you know what's possible, you do not have a full understanding of our education program. So share that. Now, somewhere along this line, meeting 2, 3, or 4, you're going to have to work specifically around preparing for that first speech. That first time they're going to take the lectern. You want them to feel supported, and you want them to feel like they've got this. And to do that, that might take a little coaching. That might take some specific listening to the speech and giving feedback before it is given. It will depend on each pair. It'll depend on each person being mentored. Meeting 5 is when we talk about really the extent of what this organization offers. What is a club president do? What does the club treasurer do? What is an area director? What is a past international director? What in the world is a club growth director? These things are all things that when you've been part of the organization for a while, you get used to, and you get used to the acronyms. And if you're new to the organization, those are overwhelming and may make you feel like uncomfortable in your environment because you feel like you don't know something everyone else does. So if you make a specific effort to ensure that everyone's aware of the scope of the organization all the way up to Toastmasters International and what we can do there, you're giving them a stronger platform on which to have success within Toastmasters. And of course, you also want to talk about the district activities, like that there are things called speech contests, and this is what we do for them. And hey, you too can attend Toastmasters Leadership Institute. When you get to the last meeting, this meeting 6, you're probably not going to end your relationship. Remember, part of what got us here was to build a connection. But you've officially completed the process of onboarding that team member. And so let's handle the Q&A. What's out there still? What do you think you need more focus on? Is there anything we need to set up? Do we need to set up another meeting to talk specifically about, for example? And you're also going to celebrate. You've both completed a 6-month process of working together, establishing a target, and making that target come true. And that's an accomplishment for all of us and for our entire club. Finally, we're going to also ensure that not just do we measure success on our checklist of each individual pair, we need to measure success for this program as a whole. We need to do that for the club. It's going to share accountability with one another. It's going to ensure we're being consistent. And it's going to give us an opportunity to seek feedback on what we did well and what opportunities we still have. For the mentor, it's going to make sure that they reinvest. They have their buy-in on why they're doing this. You ask for their time. Now, what kind of feedback do they need to ensure you get that time again? And a reminder of where all the tools are, the how-tos that they might have missed or that they want to make sure they refresh themselves on. For a new member, it's going to bring in an opportunity for them to know, did you know from the beginning to end what was expected? From your welcome letter forward, were you following the same process? The program owner is going to check in on your new pairs occasionally to ensure those pairs are working. And you want to always seek feedback through either a survey or an interview after the 6-month program is completed with an eye toward improving it. So let's talk a little bit now on what you think would be great measures for success of a mentoring program. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your feedback. Now let's talk about maintaining this program. Somebody has to own it. You cannot have a program that you expect to be successful unless somebody owns the responsibility of ensuring it continues to be part of what you are doing within your club. Now, for Melrose, we have waffled. Sometimes the Vice President of Education takes sole responsibility for the mentoring and making those relationships. Other times, they appoint a mentor chair, someone who's specifically responsible for ensuring those pairs are made and the checkups are being done. Gauge your progress always. Toastmasters recommends that at least once a year you do the Moments of Truth program, and in doing that, make sure that you address your mentor program. What's being successful? What opportunities do we have? Plan and transition. Everything you ever do as an officer should be sustainable. You shouldn't need to be in your seat for it to continue to be successful. When you design this program, make sure it's set up to be successful regardless of who's driving, the mentor chair, the VPE, or hey, maybe the secretary is going to own it next year. And remember to just do this. Nike says it best, just do it. Timing may never be right. The right person might not be in position. It doesn't matter. If the mentor program is important to you, do it. And do it every single time a member joins. At Melrose, if someone has joined our club, they will have a mentor within the next 3 weeks assigned based on the results of their survey and availability. And reward success. If something great happens within the mentor program, somebody finishes their 6-month term, whatever it might be, take a moment, just like we take a moment to recognize so many other things within Toastmasters and celebrate with them that it has occurred. Now we're going to spend a little time hearing from all of you for those questions that we've put on our blackboard, or here are some talking points you might consider. I'd like to have a moment to talk about your questions as a group, and if we need to have a few prompts, we might come back to this list and play a little table topics. Thank you all for being here. As a quick reminder, make sure you do fill out your evaluation for this session, and let's get talking. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you do have any questions, comments, concerns, you'd like to reach out to me, you can do so via the email on the screen. I look forward to your feedback and thank you all for your attendance. Reminder, fill out that survey. Have a great rest of your day.